Hello, everyone. Thank you all so very much for joining us again. Today, we're going to be talking about the most recent two episodes of Discovery. Specifically, we're going to be talking about, among many things, the fact that Stamets needs a new purpose. Saru and Tarina, they're heating up. Specifically, Saru has been asked to be an ambassador. Dr. Kovich's red directive, and on the ship, he says, by any means necessary.
Malcolm
Mm,
X. Malcolm X.
something new as it relates to the future. Also, we're also going to be talking about Saru's departure, potential departure from Discovery. Don't really know what that will bring. Also, Malt and Locke, Captain Rayner, Action Saru, Blue with no gray. Stay
That
tuned
sums
for our
that up.
intro.
To every other vote.
I mean, I just want to know what we're going to be ready. Oh, wait, we're going live.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekkers the Light.
Like, literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody!
Why is that person not even moving behind you?
That's what you're paying attention to?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my god, no.
Love that baseball and the teacup. Like, clearly, TNG DS9 fans. So.
Which was a nice touch.
The moans.
The mo.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And
No one
also,
listen.
I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
Hello.
Speaking of intros, Keith, do you have a rundown for us?
Okay, so we pick up in first episode, Red Directive. We're picking up at the about a year after where we left off in season 4. So it is 3191, and they are celebrating the 1000th birthday of the Federation, which of course was 2161, or as they say, well, give or take a few decades, because we didn't feel like celebrating during the burn. So of course, this was actually a flashback as we started with Burnham seeming to be surfing on top of a ship going warp. It flashes back to 4 hours earlier to her at this party. She goes to mingle a little bit. Tilly seems a little bit worried about a gentleman she sees that she's trying to hide from, but then Dr. Kovic shows up that he needs Burnham's attention and pulls her aside using this neat little infinity symbol thing that pulls them into the infinity room, which is just him, Vance, and Burnham in a otherwise all right room. So right into the Matrix.
Right, and Neo and Morpheus.
Yep. In which he explains that they're giving a red directive to have to go find a Romulan ship that has been located that was 800 years old. Now, that may seem like a lot, but that just means it takes it back to the 24th century in the times of Jean-Luc Picard and the Enterprise D and E. But so they're on their way to jump to the ship, and it just so happens that right before they get there, two seemingly couriers show up on the ship, and that's our villains for the season, La'ak and Maul. And they're searching the science lab and going through the ship trying to find something. Kovic had told Burnham that something on that ship that was of utmost importance, but couldn't tell her the actual details of what it was. So just a few minutes after Locke and Maul arrive on the ship, Burnham, Awosika, and shoot, I'm blanking on the tactical officer's name.
You mean
Reese, Jin
on the
Reese.
ship? Yeah.
Reese, Owosakun, and Burnham beam over. They also go into the science lab. Then they find the quarters of the scientist whose ship it is, and that's when Maul and La'ak show up. They trap Owosakun and Reese in these force fields, seemingly, and Burnham gives chase. They end up blowing a hole in the side of a ship that she gets knocked out of. They beam back to their ship, and she, in the instantly appearing EV suit, is able to get on the back of the ship. So now we're brought back to where we were from the very beginning of the episode. Now, she is now trying to get the ship to disable the warp engines. The Discovery is giving chase, as well as the Antares, as captained by Captain Raynor, that had warped in just a few minutes later. And unfortunately, she's unsuccessful. The Antares is able to get a tractor beam on the ship, but it's going so fast that it's going to destroy the Antares if they keep pulling on it. And Discovery can't beam her back until she gets off of the ship and gets out of the warp bubble. So then she slows their ship down just enough, gets off of it. Discovery beams her back at the exact second she's about to smack into the view screen on the bridge. And then that Locke and Maul's ship takes off, sending flares in 19 different directions. So there are 20 different warp signatures, so they aren't able to be followed.
That's what I would have did.
And of course, Captain Raynor on the Antares is absolutely pissed off from the very first second we even hear his voice. So they get back to Federation headquarters, where they get read the riot act for not being able to secure the item. And Kovich still won't tell Burnham what it is. Meanwhile, we find out that Saru has been given an offer to be an ambassador to unaligned planets, which means he would spend a lot of time at Federation headquarters, which he pitches to President Tarina that they'll be able to have more time together because now they are officially in a relationship. She tells him, don't make a decision on the job just based on the fact that you'll get to see me more often. Do what's best for you, because he'd have to give up his commission in Starfleet. Tilly, returning home from the party, is got more than a bit drunk, had the person she seemed to be hiding from before had walked her home, and then she, being overly tipsy, unsubtly asked him to leave in a very awkward thing. And then, of course, Burnham called for her help on something. She was trying to get her to search into records to see what she could find out about this Romulan ship. So then we get back there, are trying to find out more information. Vance catches Tilly as she tries to get into the Federation's databases, and then willingly lets her in because he doesn't like being out of the loop either. And they find out that something is tied to something that happened in the late 24th century. They try to, in order to try to find La'ak and Maul, they bring back Book, who's been, as far as they were saying, it's been months, but of course for us watching, it's only been about 5 minutes. But he's returned from basically his community service he's been doing in helping people that were affected by the DMA. Discovery uses his skills to help track down a possible dealer that they would go to, a person Book describes it, named as Fred, just Fred, who turns out to be a Soong-style synth that was actually built much later, but as Stamets points out later, that it was definitely inspired by Alton Soon's work. Alton Soon, as met in the first season of the Star Trek series, nobody seems to like to talk about. So then we have them go to this planet to try to track down Fred and hopefully catch Locke and Maul. They get there just too late. Fred is dead. Locke and Maul had opened the puzzle box that they had brought to Fred and got the journal from inside out of it. They take off, and Book, Burnham, and Raymer then take off in a speed chase, which leads to an avalanche that's about to wipe out the village. and they're able to start beaming some people out of the way, but then they have to have both starships come down and use their shields to keep the avalanche from destroying the village. And of course, in doing that, La'ak and Maul get away. Once back to Federation headquarters, Saru lets Trina know that he's decided to take the job, not just because he didn't want to not consider spending time with her, because he realizes how much he wants to spend time with her, that he's willing to do this. So, of course, Trina then says, well, if we're going to make this a full relationship, let's make it official, and basically proposes marriage to Saru, and he says yes. Is that all for this? Since there were 2 episodes today, it's hard to remember where the one actually ended and the other began.
Well,
so Fred was killed, but they were able to beam him up, and Stamets and Culber went through his memory and found he had actually looked through the whole diary. So they have the diary, at least pictures of it from Fred's mind, and it includes a reference to a planet with twin moons. And Burnham is able to figure out that it is what specific planet is when it has 2 moons that are actually circling together. So it's not so much have a planet with 2 moons; it's twins that are actually going together. She interrupts Kovich and tells him that he was looking in the wrong place, and they find where is the next place to go.
He actually stopped when he read that diary. Didn't he? Did he get through the whole thing, or they told him stop? Do you think he got through the whole thing?
I don't know if he got through the whole thing, but he definitely stopped at a point that even Burnham stopped at. So it might have been the end. I don't think we know.
I think he saw what it was, and he didn't want to go through anymore right at that time.
Or at least he got through as much of it as plot requires.
That may have happened as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm certain there's more to the first episode, but let's get into the first episode just a little bit. So one of the first things that we saw a few of them. They were kind of they were drinking cocktails, and one thing that kind of stood out for me was the fact that Starfleet had decided to mothball the sphere drive, and Stamets was feeling a little out of place, and he needs to find a new purpose. And Burnham says, you'll find your purpose. So that leaves me thinking about this particular season. What will be his purpose? I know Jason hates to think about the future, but
no, that's perfectly fine to speculate. I don't hate to think about the future at all. I mean, I was trying to wonder who's going to be like number 1 when I knew Saru was going off,
Mm-hmm.
But as far as first of all, he's like, oh, I have no purpose. Like, you brought a whole human being back into existence from your tears. You feel like you don't have an existence. But I mean, it's weird because Discovery was this flagship. I don't know, flagship, but it was past anything that existed, and then suddenly it's behind everything. It's going to be behind everything that exists. So he's suddenly antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, first of all, he's a brilliant engineer. He still has that job, right?
Yeah.
And he has other things to pursue, I would think, as far as learning what is the new step in propulsion. I think any good scientist would be like, okay, what is the new step? Because scientists don't live where knowledge is. That's where we live because we read their books, right? The best that we could do is live where they're knowledge. Scientists always live on what they don't know. They're in the realm of the unknown all the time. So I would think he would be trying to learn what this new thing is and how he can contribute to that.
Okay. Do we see that he'll probably take his knowledge onto Starfleet, or will he stay?
You know what? I wasn't speaking on what I actually think Stamets would do. I was speaking of what I think Stamets should do. What would he do?
Well, he's been trying to get out of Starfleet since the very beginning. I mean, he didn't really want to be there in the first place. It got co-opted by the war effort.
Well, by the war effort, and then Culber died. He wanted to go, and then he kept wanting to go.
Well, no, yeah, he was quitting when they got to Vulcan. He was going to leave, but they didn't make it to Vulcan because the Enterprise got in the way, and then they had to go to the future, and yeah, and then he had another job offer from Vulcan, and yeah, it's just.
Well, what do you see him doing in the future, Keith?
Well, I'm not too surprised that they decided to mothball the Spore Drive, and I was reading some people reviewing it online and how they didn't make any sense to them. Like, well, the new Spore Drive that was created by Tarka was destroyed when Book's ship was destroyed by in the final episode of last season, and plus, as he pointed out, they never figured out a better way of doing the piloting thing. And since everyone from Quajon is gone, you only basically have two people that can pilot it: Book, who is considered a criminal now, and Stamets, who's been genetically altered, which is still kind of running afoul of the rules.
But isn't that just a matter of technology? I mean, if you
You'd
look
think
at
so, but it's been a couple years now that they've been trying to figure out a different way of navigating the mycelial network, and Tilly's been on it. Stamets has been on it, apparently. Tarka and others, and Aurelio were on it, and they couldn't figure it out. They were looking at using dark matter. They were looking at different things. Even with 32nd century technology, they could not figure out a better way of doing it. Now, personally, I'm thinking that's a good idea because of what damage they could have been doing to the Giuseppe in the mycelial network, as we saw in season 2.
Right, that's the problem you have when you have a whole fleet of Spore Drives, right? We know that that is not healthy for the mycelial network as a whole.
Right.
So I want to take a little detour, just a little bit. So look, I don't remember everything in Star Trek, but I have never heard of a red directive. Have either of you heard of a red directive before?
I was thinking about that, and I no.
I was looking that up. I think there is now an article for it on Memory Alpha, but it was created for this episode.
Okay.
That's like the Omega directive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you all think about Kovich's comment? By any means necessary, he wants what they have. You can kill him if you want to.
I think that's probably something they think anyway. Sometimes they just don't say it, but I don't think he's very diplomatic. I think he's always been like a straightforward type of person. It's a little shocking. I will say that.
Very shocking. I mean, when we think about, at least when I think about Star Trek, I think about this utopian universe, and here, this guy that for all intents and purposes, everyone for the most part looks up to him, and he's now saying, kill him. That was a little jarring.
We still don't know what his job is either.
That was another question. Thank you.
What rank? What's his rank actually?
Well, no, he doesn't have a rank. He's Dr. Kovich. We don't have a first name. As far as we know, he might just be Section 31.
He's like that guy in fucking the 3-body problem. He's just telling everybody what to do. We have no idea what his job is.
I haven't watched it yet. I got to read the book first.
But other side, like speaking of like we were talking about Spore Drive, like even like the show Foundation, it was something that could only be done within human bodies until somebody figured out a technology. So I don't know. The whole Spore Drive thing. Speaking of technology, riding on starships at warp. Something done before?
Yeah. We saw it in Prodigy, in partway through Prodigy season 1, when we had the Dauntless chasing the Protostar, and when Dahl and Admiral Janeway had switched minds, and they needed a way to get them back. So they're at warp, and they were in the bubble together, and Janeway went out the back of the Dauntless, and Dahl went out the front of the Protostar.
I may be being like, I don't know if the word is prejudice or what, but I feel like seeing it on Prodigy doesn't make it as technically canonally real to me as it would You know what I'm saying? I feel like if it only existed on Prodigy, it's like I hear you, but at the same time, it's kind of like
With Prodigy,
But-
you can suspend a belief just a little bit more
a little
than.
bit, yeah, because of it's a Nickelodeon show.
Mhm.
But regardless of if we've seen it, do we feel like it's possible? Because actually, I feel like it's probably possible if you're in the warp bubble.
Yeah,
I don't see the issue with it, right?
I don't.
I don't know. You said space is not cold, so I don't know.
He's wearing an EV suit, so
You know what it is? This is what it is. Space has no effect on you. That's what it is.
Okay.
Anything that happens to you is from you. It has nothing to do with space.
Okay.
But
All right.
That's how I put it out there.
So speaking of Burnham, I'm going to skip the discussion about Burnham and Saru. I want to talk about Burnham and Book. So we find out that Burnham and Book have not talked to each other in months, and so when they see each other, they try to blame the other.
Well, she didn't call him.
and
He didn't call her either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's a believable story, and I think it's believable for them to be a little uncomfortable around each other after that amount of time. It's kind of like, where are we? What are we doing? That happens in real life.
the whole betrayal thing. I mean, he betrayed her
Hmm.
by going behind her back, stealing, taking off with Tarka, stealing the new spore drive, and basically messing up everything she was trying to do with the 10C.
Right.
And then her having to deal with the fact that he was technically dead for like half an hour.
And from her point of view, number one, she understood why he betrayed her.
Mhm.
But number two, he should have known who the fuck she was and trusted her.
And he
Right.
kept on saying the right things, but then he had already made the wrong decision by throwing in with Tarka. That there was just no way you were getting back to that.
Do we think they're going to get back together?
Something's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or one of them's gonna die.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Don't let Keith write the show. Who is it? Pillar? Who's the writer?
Shell Paradise.
Yeah.
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 She's the showrunner. So yeah, she wrote this episode, directed by Olatunde Asunsami.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's been
He
Anyway.
has done most quite a few episodes of Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to first season.
He even did one of the best Shark Treks, dealing with Zora.
Did you say short tracks or shark? What did you
Short. He said short treks.
say? Okay.
Just it sounded a little like shark treks, but
Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I have an issue. I know this is like a minor thing.
yeah,
or
he did
whatever.
Calypso and the girl who made the stars.
I like
Mhm.
I like both of those. Actually, I like all the short tracks. Kind of, I wish they would do a little bit more.
Yeah. We've been missing them. We only had 2 seasons of that.
Yeah. Anything else well, I mean, there was a lot in this particular season. I mean, the two starships descended and
Well, yeah, and
went into the
not
earth
just-
or whatever.
not just that, but Raymer fires on Maul and Locke and Maul fire back, which causes the avalanche.
Right.
Mhm.
So, and of course, Burnham tried to get him not to, and causes this problem. So there ends up. That was in episode 2, the follow up on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
But-
surprised they didn't use any phasers first, but whatever. Like
Well-
phaser into the ground. That was kind of my idea of, phasering.
I don't think it
build
was
a-
quite enough.
maybe build a trench first and then.
I don't think they had the time to make that, but they sort of made a trench by those ships diving into the soil.
Yeah.
I did love when Burnham was going after Locke and Maul on the Romulan ship at first. She had her phaser, and then she kind of pulled something, and it turned into a phaser rifle.
Yes,
That's
I saw that.
That's the kind of tech I like to see. That's a hell of an upgrade.
I'm upset about Michael Burnham's hair. I wish they would do something different with that woman's hair.
What's
Sorry.
wrong? I like it.
That's-
It's
and,
fine.
and I was watching the show, and my girlfriend walked in, and the first thing she said was, "They ain't did nothing about that woman's hair yet." But like, no, they just
This is what she wants. This is what the actress wants. Let
that what
her
she-
have the hair she
that what she
wants.
said she wanted. Okay,
Yes.
she wants them.
What's wrong with it? I don't see anything wrong with it.
I just feel like there's more they can do than just like lazy braids. You know,
It's much better than everything else that she's had.
She's gone through 7 different hairstyles across 5 seasons now, but this one we pretty much had since the end of 3, all through 4. And
did you say 7 or several?
7.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
What else to? Oh, the synth. Did we talk about that person?
Fred.
Fred, which was very interesting to see. I guess too bad Fred died.
Yep, Fred's dead.
I guess his 600-year. How old was he?
They didn't say how old he was. They just said he was hundreds of years old.
Well, he made mention to after 600 some odd years of
Yeah, he
something.
did say
something.
600 something.
Okay.
But we don't know where he came from. But I guess it's interesting to see. And he smiles and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has emotions, which is to be excited because we saw even with the weak synths that they made for in Picard season 1, they had at least a little bit of emotional reaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Raynor so far in episode 1? This is Raynor, right?
He's interesting.
Well, he became much more interesting in episode 2. I was a little confused about his presence until episode 2. Like, why is he there? It makes no sense until I saw episode 2, and then I got it.
Well, those are his bounties. Like he's after those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's his primary purpose is that he's already after them.
I mean, that I get, but in terms of being in the episode itself, like it was like, they could have communicated with him and he could have said, this is what you need to know about them, da 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 da, and that would have been it. Like, he didn't need to be there.
He's this great white whale.
Well, we're talking about episode 2, so let's get into Under the Twin Moons. All right. So we briefly talked about Saru's departure. I know Keith talked about it. Jason, what were your thoughts about that?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Saru's departure, his impending departure. We know that he's about to become an ambassador. He's been asked to be an ambassador.
Right.
Do you want me to do the full recap? No, it's up to you.
Oh,
why don't we do the recap, but we break it. We can just talk about it. But if you get to somewhere you want to talk about that thing, then we talk about that thing. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, like it.
Okay, so yeah, it's Saru's final mission. He's stepping down to leave Starfleet, and Burnham has to pick a new first officer. And Tilly does not want to leave the academy. So,
well, I guess we could talk about that, right? Since we're starting off. Since you did ask me already, first of all, I like Saru from the beginning. He's a favorite character, and I kind of felt like they were just gonna keep saying he's gonna leave, but he's not gonna leave. But you guys think he actually is gonna leave?
I don't know if he's going to leave. I think he's going to be an ambassador. They're going to use him, and then he's going to realize in some kind of way that he wants to remain on Discovery. I think Raynor is going to end up doing something that's going to get him kicked out of Starfleet, and then Saru is going to come back.
Okay.
Awesome. And Saru's my favorite character, and I would love it if, since we now know that Starfleet Academy is going to be a spin-off of Discovery in the 32nd century, I'd love to see Professor Saru going over to Starfleet Academy. And for now, anything that keeps him on the show.
Designing his own new Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Then what happened, Keith?
Yeah.
Well, so they're going. they figure out they got to go to the planet with the twin moons. You have Booker back on the ship. He tries to contact Maul and Locke and is able to use a secret communications network kind of engineering to contact them, and realizes that he knows Maul and that
The
her
Dark
real name
Web.
is Malene Ravel, and he had let it be known towards the end of season 4 that he had taken the name Cleveland Booker. We found out in season 3 from his mentor, who was Cleveland Booker. But we found out it's kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts. There, he is the 5th Cleveland Booker, and he was Trex. He became Cleveland Booker. The Cleveland Booker before him had a different name, and took down the line. You passed on the name. You passed on the clients because the name meant value. And so we find out that he knows Maul. And it turns out that Maul is the daughter of the 4th Cleveland Booker, the one that was his mentor. And he knows her, happy to see her when she was 7 years old. You had Saru and Burnham go on a mission to the planet with the twin moons, trying to find the next phase of this mission. You had them have to dodge with basically a recap of Arsenal of Freedom from the first season of Next Generation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was hoping somebody was going to mention that.
Where they have to dodge the drones and
right. You didn't get that, Jermaine? You didn't.
Oh no, I got it.
Okay.
100%.
My question is, we spent a great deal of time trying to get away from that automated system. How did Mal and Locke just run in there and run out so quickly? They seem to not have a problem.
They probably did the EM pulse as soon as they got there.
Yeah, we don't know what they did. We just know that they got there before them. They shot at the sort of monument that had this poem that told the story, and to try to wipe it off. But Burnham and Saru are able to figure out that they could still read the poem because of the radiation from the phaser burns.
The bacteria.
Right. And that there are only 4 stanzas when there's supposed to be 5 because of the type of poem. And Saru is able to move the thing, and they find the 5th stanza underneath, as well as another item.
It reminded me of Indiana Jones. It's like they're digging in the wrong place.
Yep, absolutely. And they are able to move the thing back, so in case Maul and Locke come back, they don't leave it, don't make it easy for them to find the missing stanza.
So how you feel about that? Do you think that would you have just destroyed it?
No, I would not have done that. Well, I don't know if Keith mentioned it. So by this point, they know that this is the progenitors, right?
We haven't discussed. We didn't talk about
Oh, right. That was actually at the end of episode 1. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So they found Tilly was able to find a message from the Romulan scientist whose body they found on the ship, and he had been the 4th eye of the 4 Romulans from the chase back in 6th season of TNG, and he had found the progenitors that had set off that chase in that episode, and brought all the key races of the Alpha and Beta Quadrant together.
You know what's interesting about that is that nothing, not even 1% positive came out of that. Nobody, not even on the Federation side, said, you know what, we need to start getting together more because we know we are all one people. Like, nobody did that.
My question about the progenitors is this: how long did they live to see these different civilizations come about? Because if they left that message, which basically said that they have to go to the Trill homeworld, then you have to assume that they knew what each species would become.
Well, right. So you have to assume they're intelligent enough to actually see a very long-term vision and smart enough to actually program into it and make sure it would happen, and not necessarily live that long. Or maybe they're around, and maybe they're the Q, or maybe they're who knows. But they're smart enough to take a lot of variables. I mean, I'm talking about where the planet is, the magnetic fields, the tectonic. You've got to put a lot of shit into an account when you're
Well, knowing that the Trill have two races that live together, live as one.
Yes, that is well. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
I
a whole lot.
wasn't sure how much of that was the Romulan scientists leaving pieces, or was the progenitors leaving pieces? Whether he had found it and hid
true.
it.
So the writing was in Romulan on the planet.
That's true. Yeah, it's not the progenitors that were leaving the poem. That was the Romulan scientist, and it's
Okay.
been 800 years, so that makes sense.
Because Michael Burnham was able to read it, and
Yeah.
she was like, and she said, "This is Romulan." It was not even it wasn't even translated through the UT.
So then my next question is, how did a Romulan get onto the Trill homeworld?
Spaceship.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm saying like
Trill isn't far. Trill isn't far.
He
What do
just-
you mean?
I mean, how? All right.
No, I'm saying at
Romulans
that
are the
particular point in
easiest-
time, Romulans were not, you know.
But we know how he did it. He just gonna say he's Vulcan.
Right. So
Because
I mean,
I
In
guess.
Next Generation, you had a Romulan agent who was hiding as a Vulcan.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but at the same time,
No.
so you're saying how you're saying politically, how did a Romulan get there?
yeah,
Like they wouldn't let him on the planet to.
no. I mean, okay, so I mean, I don't know how he got from one place to the next. He didn't necessarily have to be on a not a Vulcan, on a Romulan cruiser or whatever it's called. But at the same time, this is a Romulan dude. Like,
Well,
for real.
we can't, and this is what Star Trek kind of does this, but we can't homogenize every interaction between every species and say that every interaction between this species and that species is going to go this way, because there are billions or millions of each of them. And so you can't determine that a Romulan or a ship with 5 Romulans goes to somewhere on Trill, and nowhere on Trill or no Trill is going to be able to, interact with them any differently than the hierarchy of the political system would.
I mean, he could have been a defector. He
Or he
could have
could have been
defected.
defected, right.
We saw Romulans defect in Next Generation. He could have been a defector that was given free reign in the Federation because he was doing the scientific research into the progenitors.
I think that's probably the most likely thing. I don't think that a Romulan. Well, I'm not saying that a Romulan wouldn't know anything about Trills, but
Again, you can't homogenize every single person of that species.
it's not even about that. It's more about like, okay, so why would a Romulan go into Federation territory and do this? Why would a Romulan not
That's
do
like
this
saying-
in
that's like
Romulan
saying-
territory?
Why the fuck is Tiger Woods' dad playing golf over there with all them white people? This is the exact
No,
same
it's
thing.
not.
It's the exact same
It's
thing.
it's
Not
just
at all like
it's,
that.
It's like he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong there. Why is he there?
No, the Federation and the Romulans were not in a good space at that particular point in time. So why would he just do all it? Like, if he did it in the neutral zone, that makes sense. If he
Yeah.
did it in Romulan territory, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But to go into Federation territory,
It could have been that there was things. He went on his own journey following the progenitors. And remember, when we saw the races come together in the chase, we didn't see Trill. We saw Klingon, Romulan, and human.
Mhm.
And I believe Cardassian as well. We didn't see Trill. We didn't see Beta Z. Even though they could have had a Beta Z person there because Troy was right there.
Well, there are the biggest militant forces. Well, I guess
Right.
Federation though, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Starfleet is.
But-
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, if we know the progenitors seeded hundreds of planets, obviously Trill was one of them. So he must have had to go to Trill to try to find that same genetic markers that they had found when they did the planet search in the original episode.
okay, what's next?
So we had a disciplinary hearing for Raynor because he caused this horrible, nearly destroyed this village, and Burnham is called to testify, and she at first doesn't want to say anything bad about Raynor because she knows he was just basically doing his job and even though she disagreed with him. And they end up throwing the book at him. Well, and he has been forced to retire from being captain of the Antares. As soon as they said that he's going to be, when they were trying to figure out how to defeat the security system on the planet with the twin moons, Raynor jumps in to basically yell at Tilly and Adira about how to deal with the security system. And Burnham sees that he's still valuable and useful on this. So as soon as it looked like he was going to get in trouble, I figured he's going to end up being the next first officer, which is, of course, what ends up happening at the end of the episode, with Burnham offering him the spot as number one, since he had the Antares taken away from him.
I think he's a Cylon.
Well,
Wrong
he's a
ship.
Kelleran, is the race. At first, they were saying he was a Romulan when the first pictures came out, but he's a Kelleran from an episode of first season of Deep Space Nine. So it's one of those alien races we only saw once before that suddenly has come back.
Are they akin? No.
Sure, but they had crazy hairstyles back in Deep Space Nine.
I wanted to see Saru show off some moves. He was talking about he was
Oh,
we
Action
saw-
Saru?
We saw Action Saru.
Action Saru. I thought they were going to do something a little more hyper than they did, though.
Hey, not only did he run faster than those things could shoot at him, but then he took out 3 of them with his.
He did do that. He did his thing.
Yep. I did love that Burnham was all set to do this, and Saru's like, "Girl, come on! You know I can run much faster than you." Like,
I didn't like how long Burnham held on to that. I thought she should have let that go a lot sooner, being the captain and knowing that he would have did a better job. And he shouldn't have had to tell her, please. I think she should have let that go a lot sooner.
well, she made it clear. I mean, it's his last mission. How many movies and TV shows have we saw their last day on the job is when someone gets shot and gets killed? She didn't want to have Saru killed and have to explain to Trina what happened.
Yep.
No, I get it. I feel like I get that as her original decision, but I just feel like she just held on just a little bit too long.
Well, you remember, he's like her brother now, and how she's gone through.
Elliot?
Elliot.
Hey, Michael.
There we go. Success.
Mikhail.
2 weeks in a row. Good job.
I know. I won't tell y'all what I'm supposed to be working on now, but it ain't supposed to be this. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Yo.
So we're into the second episode of Discovery. We just finished talking about Action Saru.
Action Saru. I feel like you have to do like
He's
you
got
have
karate
to do
kick.
the karate chop arms.
Yes.
Shoot bones.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I honestly would like to see Saru use those a lot more than he does. You know.
Well, I don't think we're gonna get the option for that.
Oh, it's a possibility. I mean, we know he's in more episodes this season. So
Yes.
Oh, speaking of that, so what do you guys think of Raynor as a first officer?
I buy it.
I feel like he's too strong-headed in his own thoughts,
Oh.
like his own ideas.
For mission specific, I think it's worthwhile to have him on.
You know what this is hearkening back to? For me, at least, it harkens back to when there was a rogue captain. I can't remember his name, but it was the spinoff to Deep Space Nine when we first met Gul Dukat, and he went rogue and was attacking our Cardassian ships because he knew.
Oh yeah. Captain Maxwell.
Maxwell, yes.
Yeah.
Played by a very common actor or famous actor.
Guthrie.
Yeah.
Bob Guthrie.
Yes. But Captain Maxwell, and he did not get a second chance.
Right.
And this whole story arc gives me, if we gave Maxwell a second chance, and this is who he could be or who he could have been, And I'm kind of excited about that. It is very rare, we've had this happen before where it wasn't able to kind of take off the cloak of war and remember that Starfleet in and of itself is an exploration, about exploration. It is not primarily a military organization. And so it's really, really exciting. It's really, really exciting to have that arc and know that we're going to be constantly reminded about the core of what Star Trek is and what the core of Starfleet is over the next couple of episodes. I'm excited about that. Like, that's why I'm really excited about Raynor. And yeah.
Do you feel like, as far as, since you said the core of Star Trek, do you feel like with Discovery, we kind of lose some of that because we don't get exploration, really? Everything is mission. That nothing's just like, let's just go out there and let's just go there and just see what that is, going in with no reason and just exploring something just for the sake of exploring. So since we have these season-long story arcs where everything has a point, why we're there, do you think we miss out on that exploration?
And we basically had that since the very first episode. Only in the first episode did the Shenzhou go out just to go somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, but we get it in other ways, small reminders, not whole episodes. I get your point, Jason, but we get small reminders of the core and essence of Star Trek, or I should say Starfleet. But yeah, I do get your point.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Voyager, they had a mission, but they always just said like, "Oh, there's a thing over there. Well, let's just go check the thing out."
Because they couldn't not. They couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, like in the first season, Neelix just blew his mind. These people kept doing this. He's like, "What is the matter with these people?"
Yeah.
And then another thing too, like they're like almost 1,000 years in the future, so a lot of this space that they're traveling through, it's been charted.
Yeah. And remember when they had the gathering of all the different unaligned planets to vote on how to deal with the DMA in season 4? They had representatives from the entire galaxy, all 4 quadrants. So exploring the galaxy a lot of it's been covered by the 32nd century.
We did go to the edge of the galaxy in season 4. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like the first episode of one of the first episodes of TOS.
But the very first episode of TOS, technically, where no man has gone before.
I was hoping that's what this season was going to be about, so we could see what's in other galaxies.
Other galaxies are very far away, but I guess we have Discovery, so.
Yeah, the space in between galaxies is,
it's huge. Like,
we had that
expansive
third season of TOS. By any other name, you had the people from the Andromeda galaxy who tried to steal the Enterprise, and they turned all of the Enterprise crew into these like little like rocks of basic minerals so that they could handle the hundreds of years that'll take them to travel between the 2 galaxies.
Yeah, I mean, would you have preferred that though? Like, if Discovery had to, in season 2, Discovery had to, first of all, we had to get rid of Discovery somehow, right? They chose to send them into the future. But would you have preferred or not preferred of them to just been sent to the Andromeda galaxy and been like, well, we can't get home, it's too far, so now we're in the Andromeda galaxy. There's no Starfleet.
Yeah.
Nothing we've seen before at all. I mean, I guess it'd be like Stargate SGU, but whatever.
I would have wanted them to come back every now and then. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the idea would be that they're trapped there and they can't get back. Like, that's too far of a jump.
Yeah.
Star Trek has that barrier at the edge of the galaxy that nobody else has.
Right.
That would have been a whole lot like Voyager, except I would assume that they would be trying to create a whole new federation.
Well, that's arrogant, but
Come on, bring out the Janeway.
let me
We
come and bring our lifestyle and bring our way of life to you, and
Well,
you assimilate to
the
us.
well,
collective well-being.
not
No,
not
Janeway said,
assimilate to us, but like, hey,
that is
we're
that's
meeting
exactly what
all
you're
of
saying.
these people in this new galaxy, so let's let's get together. Let's
Well, which
but
Janeway
they're
kind of did in different points in Voyager.
right. But that, I mean,
that's
that's
why
not what you're
she's the
saying.
best captain. That's why we all need to pay homage to Janeway, and that's my girl.
Sorry, I missed last week. But Jermaine, that's not what you're saying, but that is what you're saying, because what you're saying is go to another galaxy, establish Starfleet, bring our way of our morals and our way, because they wouldn't do it without their morals.
Not
And
what he's saying.
I
though.
never said that.
It's not what he said at all.
But they wouldn't do it without. They wouldn't do it if they had to change their Starfleet morals.
No, he said build a new federation, not build a new Starfleet.
I mean, okay, new federation, yeah.
Yeah, I know the show does tend to intermix the terms from time to time.
Yeah.
In some ways, very embarrassing fashion. But yeah, the Federation and Starfleet are not the same thing.
True.
No. That's like saying that's like saying the Air Force and the UN are the same thing, or NASA and the UN are the same thing.
More so saying like the UN Defense Force and the UN are the same thing.
Or
No,
the
no.
U.S. military and the U.S. government are the same thing.
I would say the UN. I would say the Federation would be like the UN, and then the Starfleet would be more like NASA mixed with the Air Force. That's what the
Well,
or
Federation.
some type of international. Yeah, I could get you. I get you there. So how did you all feel? How did you all feel about Gray in this episode? So there was this moment where we kind of had the time to reflect on Gray, and I was hoping that there would be some, either an image or maybe they will make it. He'll make an appearance, but
he's definitely next episode. They're going to Trill. He's definitely going to be in next week's episode. No, you don't have that whole setup in this episode of Adira saying that they kind of miss him, but they don't really miss him because they like doing their own thing for once. But now that we know that they're going to Trill,
I agree.
Yeah, we're going to see Gray.
I had a cough.
I have a question for you, and maybe Keith might be able to answer this a little bit better. Did fans like that particular character?
The vibe I got was no. I think, as Jason pointed out when we talked about him a couple weeks ago, when they hired Ian Alexander, they talked about how this is the first trans actor in Star Trek, and certain people did not like the idea of promoting having a trans character. Now, of course, they never actually say, having now watched every episode of Discovery within the past 3 weeks, they never actually referred to him as trans. He was only referred to as trans in the marketing material. They pretty much kept him as a he throughout the whole thing. But
well, okay, let's get rid of the idea of him being trans for a moment. He didn't do a lot for the show, but take screen time from other Starfleet actors that we already wanted time to see. Well, he came into the time right when we're like, we want to see more of the Bridge crew, and then so much screen time was put to these new actors. Whether he was a trans or not, like he could have been, like if he was part of the Bridge crew, if he was Reese and he was trans, that would be a whole different thing than him seeming like he was put there just for that reason. What I mean?
Didn't add to the show. He didn't add to the storyline. He didn't really add to the show, in my opinion.
Like Anthony Rapp, like the Dr. Culber and Stamets are both gay characters. They don't seem like they're put there to show you gay characters, like at all. Like they're characters and they just happen to be gay. So you're just like, okay, I'm following the story of Stamets because he's got a whole lot of shit going on, and then it has to do with the ship and it has to do with the show, and so does Dr. Culber. I don't care if they're gay or not. You know what I mean? I don't care if dude is trans or not. He just doesn't really add to the show.
I mean,
Yeah,
they did have one episode where he did end up helping with the breakthrough on Zora, on her
That's
being able
true.
to come into her own in Ascensions.
He played chess.
That's true.
Yeah.
But so when which season did we first see that particular character? Was it season 4 or was it
Season
season 3?
Season 3.
That's what I
Season
thought. So it took until the end of season 4 for his character to.
he was spotty in season 4 though.
But it was the halfway point of season 4 that he left, and he hasn't come back.
Right. He was spotty at first in season 2.
We didn't meet him until the 3rd episode of season 3, because we met Adira. Well, actually, no, we met Adira in the 3rd. It was the 4th episode that we met Gray. It was when they went to Trill. Gray got their memories back, and then Gray was Adira got their memories back, and Gray was just kind of there as a imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Until the final episode of the season when they're in the Hollow trying to save Sakal, and Gray somehow manifests in the Hollow such that Culber and Saru can see him.
Right.
Yeah, because they were. I think they said they were reading the neural patterns of the symbiote and the neural patterns of.
Right. So then season 4, we had them building the synthetic body for Gray, and that way they carried back to season 1 of Picard. Sorry, Michael.
I know, right?
and-
If you want to cuss at me, just say that.
I kind of feel like they. I'm sorry. Were you done, Keith?
Well, let me just finish. And then they had him go out on his purpose, but they had a couple episodes of him just kind of being the boyfriend on the ship that had nothing better to do, which they already had with Book. So they had
Well,
two
Book had a
characters.
lot to do, though. Book had a lot to do. He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so Gray was kind of the weak ass version of Book.
He never went on missions. Gray didn't go like he just sat in a room. Just sat in the room for the whole show.
So he sat in the bar in the one episode, sitting there like, I'm just the guy in the bar.
What are you doing? At least Book was going on missions, getting shot at. He knows people in the galaxy. It's like, and this dude's like his biggest contribution is he told the computer to play chess with him or something. It's just like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm like, I was trying to find. I couldn't even find someone to compare him to. I really don't even think there's another like character that was as underdeveloped. I mean, other than the whole Discovery Bridge crew, but we're not gonna dive that way yet. But
they did stuff. They did stuff. They drive ships and they communicate. And
Speaking of, did you all notice that Bryce is not on this season?
Yeah, well, we had him leave. He left towards the end. He was only on half the episodes last season, and then we had him leave before they went on the big mission at the end.
Right, but there's no mention of that particular mission, and it's been months, so he could have come back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he said they had him working on the USS Pike, the USS Christopher Pike, and so he probably is, in a much higher position over there now. After all the big fuss they made at the beginning of season 3 that they didn't want the crew all broken up, they're now breaking up the crew.
I wonder if that particular actor found some other job and he just couldn't do it.
That was my understanding. He had another job that he was doing, and that's why he can only do half the episodes in season 3.
Maybe he got tired of just standing in the background behind the console.
Well, the key thing you got to remember about Discovery versus every other Star Trek series before it, it had one star in Shaniqua at birth. Mm-hmm. The only person who's in every single episode. And then you had a circle around them of characters that are in most episodes. And then the third circle out from that is the bridge crew. They aren't main characters on this show, except when they decided to have Owo in an extra scene or have Detmer.
Bryce or Detmer.
Considering Detmer
or even Bryce.
Owo weren't even in the opening credits until season 3. They were guest stars in every episode they were in season 1 and season 2.
Right? How hard would it have been to have Reese on that ship surfing? Like, why not?
Well, because Burnham is the star of the show, so she's got to be the one that doesn't get stuck in the field, that ends up surfing on the ship.
Speaking of that scene, so that whole scene, right? She's telling Rayner, let go of the ship. It's gonna break apart. You're gonna kill me, right?
Well,
So
kill her, kill the two, and destroy the Antares too. The Antares was getting pulled apart on the edge of the warp bubble.
Right. So she lets go. Well, so why she could have let go earlier, right?
She was trying to shut down their warp engines by shooting it with a hand phaser.
Okay.
Which I found very, very interesting.
Yeah.
We have some super powerful phasers nowadays.
Well, it is the 32nd century. I imagine it's a touch
is
better than Phaser 2 that we saw in the original series.
True. But, now, I mean, hell, we also could have just probably generated 3 phasers, set them all to self-destruct, and it probably would have just blown in 10 to 15 seconds after we let go.
Yeah, but 10 to 15 seconds, they could have already warped to another sector.
Yeah, true. So I will say, I did enjoy. Oh, I know what my question was. A Warshika, or is it a Warshikun?
We know what you're talking about.
Because I think at first I thought it was a Worcester, but now I hear Worcester Coon.
I could have sworn in season 2 when she went to the church, they said a Warshika. Anson Matt, I do not remember him saying.
I'm with you, bro.
Whatever. I could have
sworn.
I just watched that episode a week and a half ago, and he said a Worcester, but the way he pronounced it was slightly different than everyone else.
Just say oh.
Oh.
I thought it was oh.
How they wait till the last season to change her name
for a long time.
Well, I mean, fingers crossed she gets something to do.
They've given her a lot to do. I mean, remember she got to fight in the boxing ring last season, and we saw her on missions. So,
but we need episodes that revolve around them, though.
That's what we need short treks for, because that's what short treks was doing.
That was Keith. Thank you for that segue. I don't see how. I'm very curious how they tie this season back in with short treks. I'm also very curious how they utilize short treks moving forward. I know they kind of ended them, but I saw something that said short treks something.
They didn't end them; they just haven't produced any more of them.
Yeah. Well, and maybe some, I can't remember. It was just something I saw on the Book of the Faces popped up and was something about short treks. And I was like, oh, well, maybe they're going to be bringing them back.
That might have been the very short treks that they released for Star Trek Day last year and the 50th anniversary of the animated series.
So I watched all those. I was thinking, I didn't read it. I looked at it. I clicked on it. I started scrolling and I was like, okay, well, maybe they'll bring these back. And then I moved on. But I really hope they do, because I think that this is an awesome opportunity to wrap up some good storylines with the bridge crew. We'll find out if Reese finally figured out how to shoot according to what's that man's name? Whatever his captain.
Lorca?
Huh?
You mean Lorca? No. Lorca.
Lorca, yes, Lorca. Thank you. Names are escaping me, guys. Names are escaping me. But according to Lorca, because he always said Reese couldn't shoot at anything or couldn't hit anything. But yeah, and so I really think that it's a great opportunity, and I really do hope that they develop some short treks off of this to actually wrap out and round out the series.
I have a question for you outside of Star Trek's short treks. Do you think that Discovery is worthy of a standalone movie?
No.
Sonequa Martin Green is worthy of as an actress, but unless they can figure out how to bang out just in 10 episodes something that just leaves us on the edge of our seats.
I think that I would have preferred a standalone movie back in the 22nd century. Is it the 22nd century? Yeah. Rather than where they are now.
But 22nd century is Enterprise.
Right.
Yeah, he's just saying if the storyline of Discovery were in the past.
But the thing is, I think it is, because even though they're in the future, the sky is the limit. As long as you can think of a good story, I think I think it's plausible. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many good stories that you can do with science fiction. Um, yeah, I think it's highly plausible. You don't have to get in so many details with what's going on in the quadrant or with the Federation. All you need is a ship and a crew, and then to go somewhere and do some shit. That's all you need. You don't have to get into all the specifics that we know of what's happening in the future, like at all.
Now, the reason I asked that question is because, yes, a lot of fans loved Sulu. They loved Ahura. They loved they loved the B characters, right? They did. But their characters weren't as fully fleshed out until the movies came out. And the reason, again, the reason I asked that question is because there's a possibility that those B level characters that we're talking about, the bridge crew, their characters could be
Yeah, it
fleshed
keeps
out in the
dynamic.
movies.
I beg to differ. I think those characters were fleshed out in the show. I don't think the
No.
movies
I-
fleshed
No.
like if you look at
I agree with Jason on this.
They
I think
don't-
that
I mean,
there was
besides-
enough for you to love in the show.
those movies didn't really flesh out the secondary characters that much more. I mean, it was all about the main three characters. They fleshed them out more and more and more, right? Yes, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. But Sulu and even
Well, they gave us pieces more. They gave us more character development in the movies than they ever did the original series.
Agreed.
Yes.
But I think that they gave you enough, to your point, they gave you enough to love, and that's what made the movies work. Like, you had enough to love, and you could see and you could understand where they were going. I don't know, other than listening to the Trek logs, like, I don't really know anything about the bridge crew.
right. Well, okay, so you don't know. Yeah, even okay. Let's say TOS. The bridge crew is Kirk and Spock.
No, not that, not
So he's talking about this
Discovery.
show.
Right. I'm trying to compare them.
Yeah, and
Uh,
so I mean, you can't. I wouldn't. I'm not like, you know what? I got to go to the movie to see Detmer.
Okay.
well, the thing is when you have
Like, what?
Okay.
When you ha- when you
I
have-
agree
when
with
you
you. I
have-
agree with you.
you have your main character, like let's say Michael Burnham, who is her circle. If you want to see her in that circle go on, like you want to see Kirk fighting McCoy go on an adventure, and then well, actually, TNG does it way better because they do it way better over the whole fucking 7 people, and they
Well, yeah, that's the thing about Berman Trek, 90s Trek. It's all ensembles. Yes, you have a star, but it's all about the ensemble. And
Mhm.
when you have 24, 26 episodes a season, you can have a Riker episode, a Troy episode, a Geordi episode.
right.
Eh,
Yeah,
eh.
yeah. But yeah, when you look at this crew, now, it's important to remember we have in hindsight we've learned more things. Like, when did you first find out Sulu's first name was Hikaru? Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, when he's
I was
giving
gonna say, was
his
it
captain's log at the opening of the movie. When did you find out Uhura's first name was Neota?
Well, that was in the J.J. Abrams movie.
I
Yes,
don't even.
Star Trek 2009. A whole 43 years after she premiered in the early episodes of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's how
Now,
secondary.
you did find out Chekhov's name was Pavel very early on. But there's a lot of details about the characters we know and love on the Bridge Crew of the original series that we didn't learn about until decades later.
Short treks.
You know what's funny is when I was a kid, it's just your perception of things. I thought Chekhov and Sulu were like from the same country. Like I thought they were the same. Like,
Oh.
isn't that weird? Like when I was a child, I'm saying. Like I thought they were both like Japanese. I didn't get the Russian thing at all until I like got older. Like it never even it occurred to me.
Jason, some days I just want to give you a hug, brother.
I'm just saying, went right over my head.
Well, look, do we have anything else that we need to talk about in terms of these 2 episodes? We've kind of been all over the place, but I want to give some space for
How many episodes
anything we might have missed.
left?
We had
2
10
episodes. You all know I want ratings, and I do want to have like kind of like hopes for this season.
Well,
We live on hope and second chances around here.
That's the hope that kills you. But we got 10 episodes in the season, but 2 are done, so we only have another 8 weeks of Star Trek
Hate
Discovery
it.
until it's finished. Yes. I know. I love having 2 episodes, but with the fact that means we have one less week to enjoy.
Right.
They really should have given us a whole nother knowing that it was 10 episodes and they just added a little bit once they found out they were canceled instead of just giving us a whole nother series finale.
Do you think they're going to extend the time? In other words, instead of 1 hour, it'll be like an hour and 20 minutes or something?
Yeah, definitely. At least for the final episode, I'll definitely expect to see it a bit longer.
I would give it an 8. And let me tell you what I did not like. I
Across
didn't
both
like
episodes.
looking at them as one because I
Okay.
can't at this point. I can't. I would give it an 8. I did not like a lot. I'm not gonna say a lot. I didn't like the opening action sequence. I didn't like it at all.
I didn't either.
With her on the ship,
Yeah,
what didn't you like about it?
I didn't. To me, it was just like they just wanted us to be like, oh wow, look.
Yeah.
I didn't need all of that.
I thought she was a little too comical. You know, like, oh,
Yeah. Ow, that hurt.
thought that was going to be a better day today, or whatever the fuck she said. You know,
Yeah, it's a
oh
little
wow,
bit,
that was
I
fast.
expect this kind of night or something.
a little bit
Right.
too much of the Marvel effect there. You got to have the
Yeah.
quips in there.
But it's crazy how, you know, we're like, it's got to be Burnham. She's the star. What she's doing, she's surfing a fucking starship going at warp in a warp bubble. Which is okay, but it's just like, wow, they're doing a lot. That's why I said they could have gave it to somebody else and had her talking to him, you know, trying to talk them down, or trying to talk them, you know, like let somebody else do something. Like, you know, Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams movie when Spock is in the volcano. You know, Spock's in the volcano.
That's
Kirk's
like
in the
saying
volcano.
Voldemort on here. Don't mention him.
No, I'm just saying, like, Spock's in the volcano, right? Kirk's
You know,
not
we
in the
thank him
volcano.
for what he
Oth-
did,
Other
but
people can do things that are dangerous and that are hard. And it doesn't always have to be Michael Burnham. She could be on the other side talking to them.
we agree.
Hey,
Well, yeah, we had in season 4 when she was assigning herself the most dangerous parts of missions, like when they had to save the space station and she got into the worker bee to try to balance it out. And the president goes, "Excuse me, you're the captain of this ship. Don't you belong on the freaking bridge during an emergency? Especially since you don't have a first officer?"
right.
And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm the best trained." And it doesn't matter. You're the
Right.
captain of the ship.
Delegate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 8. I'm happy to go next. I would actually agree with an 8. I think overall it was a good amount of action, a great balance. I love the tie back into the progenitors.
Mhm.
And I feel like after watching that episode in Next Generation, one of the things I always said was this episode in and of itself could have been a season. And so I love that they're doing that. My heart is overjoyed. And I think potential wise, I'm looking forward to seeing Raynor. And kind of, again, like I said earlier, that harkening back, but I'm also looking forward to Book. I feel like they're going to do
It.
I feel like in a very nice way they're going to do Booker good, a very big solid in kind of letting him heal and kind of make amends, and find a new connection and family. And so I think he's going to do a really good job in reconnecting and making a great relationship with Burnham. And I feel like he's going to do a great they're going to do a nice send-off in him finding new family in Maul. Mal.
Yeah, well, you know, that's something we didn't touch on, was the fact that Saru basically said, "Hey, why don't you think of Book as being the first officer?"
Yeah, I didn't like that.
First of all, he's not Starfleet.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that either. I thought that was just. I was very glad that it didn't go that way. I would have been unhappy if it went that way because it was just too easy and simple. I'm glad I prefer the way of having Captain Raynor be that. Um, but
Yeah, the idea of your first officer being in a relationship with the captain is really not that great an idea.
it's not
And
even.
we saw that at the end of that other series with Seven and Rafi. Rafi now is the first officer on the Enterprise G.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not a good idea. I all in all, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna jump on Michael's coattails and be like, I kind of like this idea of bringing the progenitor back. I want to see where they go with it. I don't know if I'm. I think I'm glad. Are you glad that they didn't use this for Picard? To bringing the progenitor back. I don't know. I have to think about that. But I'm really interested to see where it's gonna go, what species it's gonna bring into it, and also like what is gonna, like I said before, nothing came out of that before. None of the species had any sort of enlightenment whatsoever, But I guess it's not about enlightenment. It's kind of about a weapon. It's Genesis 2 is what they're looking for. They're looking for Genesis 2.
Well, it's a Genesis 3 now. Remember, we had Genesis 2.
Where there's life, there's always destruction.
Yeah. Well,
So I was probably leaning 8 for episode 1 until the progenitors became the thing, and I don't want to say 10 because I had faults with the episode, so I'd say a 9. I thought they just did so much with episode 1, action-packed CGI, running. It was just constant motion. That episode 2, the pacing was just huge difference from one episode to the other. There was some of the stuff that we got in episode 1 that probably could have been held off to 2 to more even the pacing.
You thought 2 was slower?
Yes.
Oh,
what would you
definitely.
give? What would you give 2 then?
I give 2 about a 7.5.
Okay.
There are I guess as soon as they said that Burnham needs to find a new number 1, I guessed it was going to be Raynor.
I guess 2, all the action was on the planet when they were trying to the defensive planet. They were trying to get rid of the defensive. And
There was some action in that science lab, and I love a good teamwork solving problems.
But they were in there and had a whole conversation. These people were getting shot at. It's like, okay, solve the problem already.
How many times were we in that ready room when somebody was at red alert and 55 photons pointing at our neck?
How about you have a mission to a planet where you can't beam them up immediately and you have poor communication? So let's send the captain and first officer.
Right.
I've given up on that part.
Yeah.
Apparently, you no longer have to protect the captain. The captain just go out there and do whatever.
We don't have a security person. Who is our security person?
Reese.
No.
He can't shoot.
No.
That's why they can't let him off the ship.
No,
Who is it?
Discovery has tactical and security as 2 separate positions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because in season 3, you had Reese as tactical, and you had the Barzan. I'm blanking on her name. She came over from the Enterprise.
Yes.
She was head of security.
That's true.
In season 2 and season 3, and even Ash Tyler was head of security in most of season 1, with Reese as tactical, and you had the other officer who was head of security. So Disco actually is the only time we've seen a separate tactical and security as 2 separate positions.
Yeah, we need a badass. We need a badass security officer. Like every iteration of Star Trek has had one. Where is yours?
Well, did we have that in TOS?
No,
we didn't have it in TOS.
And I think that they were trying to, at least in the earlier seasons, they were trying to follow that, that mode.
Yeah, there was no tactical officer or security officer in TOS.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we close this out?
Star Trek rocks, bro.
I'm excited. When I messaged Marie because I know she had watched it just before me. When it was the progenitors, I was screaming, yes, yes! I was so excited because I remember watching that episode when it first aired with my mom, and that's how much we loved that story. And there's been some great memes that have come out of that final shot. Like you have the progenitor who's Salome Gems, who goes on to play the female changeling in Deep Space Nine.
Right.
There's a popular meme of him going, "We seeded all these planets. That's why there are so many."
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. That's how there are so many Jeffrey Combs characters.
Every species must have one Jeffrey Combs.
Or if you're Ferengi, you have at least two. But
right.
They're over on Trek Culture. They did, during this break with no new episodes, they did several videos about missed opportunities and drop storylines that need to be picked back up. And this storyline was towards the top of their list every time. So I wanted to see it come back. I'm so glad they're bringing it back. And of all things to bring back from the 24th century, this is the best one.
Or Nagila.
No.
I think that's a great place for us to end. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with everyone that you know. See y'all.
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
like 10 out of 10 serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is Oh dear God! It just got
because you said
better.
his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're going to end the episode
No.
because Keith
No.
actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge.
That's my favorite line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like,
Why are you describing yourself?
what the hell?
Hello from
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Hey, Virgil.
welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?